Happy Historic Marker Monday, everybody. I am Michelle with Fun in Key West. And if you are watching us live, let me know. Put a comment down and below in the comments. Let me know where you're from and who you are so I can do a shout out. If you're listening to us via the podcast, thank you so much. And be sure to subscribe so you get more of this content. Today, like we do on all Mondays, is we talk about the historic markers that you see throughout Key West. And today we're talking about steam power and how that absolutely not only impacted the world, but Key West. It had a huge role in Key West and how it made Key West move forward, become part of the industrialized revolution. It helped with ships and trains and even helps fight the fight against piracy. It was all powered by steam. So let's dive into this. We know that steam engines came about and shortened travel times. They powered cities and they transformed industries. And that was all part of that industrial revolution. You remember back to your middle school, high school history classes, we talk about the Industrial Revolution and how that changed the face of the earth and made the world a little bit flatter in terms of being able to get somewhere. Steam is powered by something. It's usually coal, and then the coal and the water work together. They create steam, and then you get power. And that power helped to move ships and electrify cities and shorten times and put in place. So think about it. Before that, you had sailing ships, and it could take days or a week to get from point A to point B. And then once steam power came into play, that time significantly shortened. And Key West was absolutely the perfect setup. You had some freshwater availability, you were in the perfect maritime location, and you had a coal supply. So it was a perfect setup. Coal was stored in Key West in coal depots, and these were warehouses that were stacked with coal, and these were all ready to unload and put into the ships to power them. You had large water towers like you see around Key West, especially around Mallory Square. And these water towers stood by the waterfront, and they helped put the fresh water into the ships and put it into the boilers so that all of that steam could be made. And why does this matter? Well, obviously, ships can't just sail forever. They're not a sailboat. They're steam-powered boats. And they needed fuel, and they needed water. And so basically, Key West became the gas station of the sea. In 1820, if you remember back on one of our episodes a few back, we talked about Commodore Porter, and he had the Seagull, which was the first steam-powered ship in the U.S. Navy. And he used that ship and his fleet, which was the Mosquito Fleet, to help eradicate piracy throughout the Key West waters and all over to the Caribbean. And there is evidence that Key West actually was using steam power during the Civil War, and it helped with and played a huge role in the wartime operations there. Electricity comes to Key West, and it is steam-powered electricity. In 1880, Thomas Edison fires up the first steam-powered electric system in New York City. In 1887, just 7 years later, the Key West Electric and Gas Company opens the first private steam-powered plant. And so steam wasn't just about ships. It literally lit up the homes and streets of Key West. Key West's location is critical. It's a stopover point. So if you're coming in from the Caribbean or you're coming down through, it is a perfect spot. You're coming off the Mississippi and coming out. It is located centrally for all of that maritime traffic. What was interesting and I found out was it specifically Key West did a role in the California gold rush of the 1850s. So prospectors are on the East Coast, and you would think that you just go from the East Coast to the West Coast. Well, a lot of times, these prospectors on the East Coast, they boarded steamships, and they came down through Key West, and those steamships reloaded with coal and water, and then they continued on to Nicaragua, and then the prospectors trekked overland, and then they sailed to San Francisco. So Key West played a pivotal role in the California gold rush. So if you think about steam power, why does that all matter? Faster ships, made quicker trade and safer seas. It provided electricity. So we get to enjoy modern living. Trains, it powered the trains, and this opened up America. So all those train tracks were laid, and they connected the East Coast and the West Coast, and you saw the wide expansion of the United States. And for Key West, the steam power turned the island into a hub of commerce, travel, and of course, military strategy. What's interesting is steam engines date back all the way more than 2,000 years ago, but they weren't perfected until the Industrial Revolution. And imagine that you were in Key West during this time. The waterfront is lined with coal depots and water towers, and it's just bustling along with all these steamships. And obviously, if you lived in the 1800s, would you take a slow sailing sailboat or a faster steamship? I think all of us would take the faster steamship. Thus the difference why most of us fly places versus driving. It's so much faster and much more convenient. So steam power didn't just change the world. As you can see, it changed Key West. And so as you're wandering through the Mallory Square area and you see these water towers, think back to how Key West looked and its role it played in maritime traffic and in the Civil War and everything else in between. And be sure to read those markers because you're always going to learn something. This one was a real quick one because it's not really a spot or a house like we normally talk about, but it's just the advent of steam power and the impact that it had on Key West. I'm going to encourage you, as always, to head over to FunInKeyWest.com. Over there, you're going to see all of the other locations on this self-guided historic marker tour. Plus, you can sign up for our happy hour list, and that gets you on our newsletter list, and you get to get a weekly update of what's happening in Key West, as well as what's happening around the world of fun in Key West. And we have a trivia question that we ask every week, and that puts you in a drawing for a fun surprise Key West box. I'm Michelle. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being part of the community. You guys have a great Monday, and we'll talk to you later.